Well, thank you
Yeah.
for being here. My name is Alyssa, aka Allie, whatever one is whatever. Thank you so much for being here on Undiscovered Spins. I'm really excited to do this. So you guys have your new album Nosebleeds coming out in 2 days, July 14th. And it's really exciting. You guys are going on tour with Bishop Briggs too for your Don't Look Down tour. So
Mhm.
we're excited for that. How did you come up with the album name though? Because there's so many. I mean, we haven't seen all the songs yet, but I'm sure they're all going to be awesome. But the three that have come
Oh,
out, which I love Ultraviolet very much. Just have to say that.
you.
Really resonated
Oh,
with that song. But how did you pick, what the album title is going to be and all that?
yeah. First of all, thank you for all the kind, generous words. You heard it here. All the songs are going to be good.
Yeah.
Yep. The album name came from the title track, Nosebleeds, which was a response to the punches that have been these last few years of feeling really beat down and high up from where you want to be. And I started the song 2 years ago and didn't finish it. And that phrase just kept like showing up and resurfacing where I was like, okay, there's something here. There's a story here as the album kept evolving and unfolding of just realizing this was the journey of, the messy middle without racing to the finish line to clean it up like I have in the past as a coping mechanism.
Mhm.
And just letting it be really raw and brutal and spilling your guts and being okay with all sides of you and not doing a disservice to your experience by trying to sugarcoat the hard times.
Yeah.
Do you have anything?
Um,
I don't know. I think that answered it.
I think she covered.
I like too the lyric that you have, kind of like not the specific lyric, but the idea of like you think that your experience is so unique and like you feel like one person in a crowd of like 1,000 people, but like everyone else feels that way. And it's so interesting when you actually like think about stuff, you know what I mean? You really put it into perspective with that
Oh,
song. So I really
totally.
enjoyed it. And then
That's the most comforting thing.
yeah,
That's the
for,
most comforting thing of being like, oh, my experience, my lows, this pain. It's so like no one else is experiencing this. And the beauty of shows and the community we've been fortunate enough to have shows you, even if the trajectory is a little different or the details aren't exactly the same, the feelings are. And that is kind of the biggest takeaway from this album of like the not being okay is okay and that everyone's kind of in this together is
yeah, like
comforting.
Yeah.
we're all hurting, but we all share that
Yeah,
in common, kind of.
yeah, totally.
So what song are you guys most excited to play on tour? If you're able to, I don't know how much you're able to say, but
That is a tough
Yeah, that's
question.
hard because I'm genuinely so excited to play all the songs. I think End of My Rope is one that I think will be a pretty crazy experience live.
Yeah.
Or out of your mind. I don't know. This is hard to answer.
That's a tough question. We've actually only played like two or three songs as a band off the
oh,
record so far, like in a live situation. Currently, Nosebleeds is the most fun to play for me as the drummer. It's just a perfect tempo. Um, so so yeah, but
Very insightful.
I think it'll kind of like as we play and go on tour and like we'll certain songs like to me what makes the song the most fun to play is not really what happens to us, it's what
The crowd.
the synergy we have with the crowd and what they respond to, and that usually will dictate what
The favorite is
yeah.
totally. Yeah.
I can tell you Nosebleeds will be really good because I was
Yeah.
listening to it in my car this morning and I was like I was
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, thank you.
so good. Especially I got like an hour drive here, so I just was listening to all sorts of stuff from you guys. I love it all.
Oh, thank you.
What is the wildest thing you've seen in the audience at a show?
The wildest
Wait,
thing.
the wildest thing we've seen
In the
while
audience. Yeah, yep.
the wildest thing.
That's a good question. When people have proposed in the audience, that
Yeah.
was pretty wild. I think in a beautiful way. What
Yeah.
else? I think when people faint, that's wild. That's like not a good wild. That's a terrifying wild where you like stop the
Yeah.
show and make sure people are okay. But that's just like a really crazy experience as a human to want to help, and you're on stage and you stop everything you're doing and it takes you out of like, oh, I'm performing, and it just like showing up for people to make sure they're okay. But that's probably not the wild you were thinking of, but it's very wild for me. It's so terrifying.
So the wildest thing, honestly, that I think I've seen is like there's been a couple of moments in the show, like at festivals or at some special shows, where the crowd will cheer and then they won't stop cheering, and then we just stand on stage and we get chills and we're like, oh my god, did we cry? Like we literally can't play the next song because there's just endless cheering, and like that feeling is like insane. It's
okay. That's a better wild. I like that wild better.
Well, it's two sides of wild. There's two sides to every wild.
True. Was it very like surreal your first moment too, going on stage? Like what was that like? Just having the outpour of love and like the fans and all that stuff, like your first.
Oh man. Yeah, we don't take it for granted ever. I'm still of the mindset that we have a show booked and it's like, is anyone going to show up? You know, and there's been so many times where it's like when we first were starting, like we're playing Firefly first festival and our manager's like, hey, you're playing the first slot, like no one's going to show up, and then thousands of people were there and all singing as one is just the closest thing to magic I think that exists, you know. So that never gets old. Like genuinely, we've been doing this for 10 years, and when I just am such a crier, it moves you to no end when you have that kind of experience of just this like collectiveness and the security and community, and just an honor that people have resonated with the music and then show up for you, and this just exchange an outpour of love that is unlike anything that I've experienced in life. So yeah,
I mean, I think ultimately that's why we're still here after 10 years.
That's what's
dealing with all these punches and life and the music business. Like we focus on that moment as our like saving grace.
The light
like,
at the end of the tunnel, for sure.
For sure. I like that. That's awesome. I read too that you guys were like recording in a closet at one point. That is awesome. Like what was not like how big was the closet, but like was it a big closet or like
no, I was in the closet many years ago. It was a very tiny closet. We had no money for recording in a studio, and ATN was learning how to produce and had a little setup. And you know, usually you have things like a vocal booth that is treated with sound panels, and we didn't have the luxury of those materials. So the closest thing we had was a closet because it's very padded with all the clothes. So I would just sing in a very claustrophobic space with all of its clothes.
I will say though, it sounds kind of crazy, but like if you have a nice enough size, like I had a closet at one point that wasn't like a walk-in, but it was like it had a little bit of an extended rack with the coats, and I would organize the coats in a way as like some sort of padding, and it created this like really great vocal booth sound that like, you know, it's essentially that it looks weird and you're in a closet, but we got some great vocals on the first record from
You've come a long way now.
Like,
I'm no longer in the closet.
We recorded this one with polyester instead of cotton, so it may sound how does it feel like going from the nosebleeds to the stage, I guess?
We haven't yet experienced that. You mean like playing the album live?
Well,
like haven't. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No. What were you saying?
Just like kind of like sitting, you know, being like, oh hey, I'm watching a show, and now going from like, oh, I'm performing a show, like.
Oh yeah. It's a pretty trippy experience, especially when you've not been on tour for a long time. Like I go to shows all the time, still such a music lover. Like this industry hasn't taken that away from me, that I still try to go see as many shows as possible. And sometimes I forget, like, oh, I do that. You have this out of body experience where you're like, you know, shows are so magnificent and the power and the excitement, and you're just like, I can't. It's just like a dual personality where it's hard to place yourself as the person who's also doing that when you're watching as a music lover. And I just always hope that people feel the way I do, like the excitement I get and just how inspiring it is. You're always like, man, I really hope people feel this way when they're watching our show.
For sure. I love that very much. I love that. Well,
thank you.
Thank you guys very much for your time today. Oh, I think,
of course.
I think we're up here. I don't know. But
we're
having so much fun though.
Like I want to go.
I know. I need to go to the show. It's I think you guys are at the Majestic for Detroit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yes.
in
Hope
September.
to see you there. It will definitely be.
It'll be majestic.
Oh, it'll be Majestic. Permanent.
Thanks.
Good. I also wanted to say I love your guys' play on the words for your band, Sister Wives, Mister Wives. I think that's
Oh,
so funny and incredible, and I love that.
thank
Thank
you. Yeah, Salt Lake City doesn't find it funny anytime we go through there. I've gotten reprimanded
No, they're cool.
I could believe that. I bet. Well, that's awesome.
Thank you for having a great sense of humor.
Thank you. Thank you guys. It was a pleasure to talk with you. Very grateful I was able to. And
You.
super excited about the new album. I will definitely be getting tickets to that show.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks
Can't
so
wait to
much.
see you.
Yeah, we'll see you there.
Ooh,
Have a
yes,
great day.
absolutely. You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.